going,
God.
Howard.
Bro, we're live!
We're live!
Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Now we
Yay.
can wait.
It loaded?
No,
Okay.
it didn't load. Can they hear us? Can people hear us?
No one's on yet, stupid.
Me.
I'm Emery.
I'm Maxine.
And this is the USS Stupid.
We're a sinking ship.
Today, should we go and hop in?
I mean,
just hang out a bit?
Let's hang out a bit to see if the D&D nerds show up.
Yeah.
Which I doubt.
We
Just call Maddie.
Let's
call Maddie. Put her in the middle of the table. Call Maddie.
I'm working on it.
Because I want to know if they can hear us.
I'm working on it.
Call her!
I'm trying. Christ.
You got it? I like that you have a big E.
Oh, it's over.
Oh!
Because I have too many Maddies on my phone.
No, I don't. Mm-mm. Dang.
If she doesn't respond, we're gonna hop into it.
Alright.
Just you and me.
Oh, yeah, Maddie!
Now, I'll call you back as soon as I can. Thanks and have a good day.
Wow, she sent us to voicemail.
Yeah. Maddie, if you're watching.
Maddie, if you ever get on this and or watch it later, how dare you?
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
Okay,
Tomorrow.
Today, in this current moment, we are going to be talking about one of the most controversial psychology experiments to ever be put on.
That I don't know about at the moment.
The Stanford prison experiment.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's a pretty
Do I remember it? No.
It's pretty famous. It's pretty well known. And have you taken psychology?
Uh-uh.
Oh,
I didn't take psych.
I haven't either, but they probably talk about it because it's a pretty...
I gotta say though, look at this man with his glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what a coward.
Yeah.
So, only cowards wear aviator shades.
I'm a coward.
I am too. I also own aviator shades.
I know you do. So this whole shenanigan, that's not the right word. It was a shenanigan.
Shenanigan.
There's a very popular movie. It's not that popular. There's a movie based off it. I believe it came out in 2015. So it's been around a while. It's got some pretty well-known actors. I think I haven't really looked into it because I cared more about the experiment.
I don't know, man. It's a movie. What's it called? Is it called a movie?
It's called the Stanford Prison Experiment. Wow.
I wouldn't have thought.
Who knows? So this experiment was actually funded by the U.S. Navy because they wanted to understand the dynamic between prisoners and guards in war prison.
Why didn't they just send the Navy man to prison then? You just take them. If the guys are wondering what it's like to be in prison, just take them and go, whoo, and then they're in prison.
I mean, then there'd be all these I guess just these.
Well, they're the one who asked the question.
That is true.
I didn't ask the question. I don't get it.
I guess they wanted it with people who didn't know really what they were getting into, so they didn't have any expectations.
They could have just done that with the Navy man. They wouldn't. Clearly they don't know what they're getting into because they're asking the question.
Apparently not.
I think they're just stupid.
I think
the answer right here is that they're stupid. We can close the case. They're dumb.
All right, I guess.
They're done.
They're stupid.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. Yes.
So this was a study put on by Philip Zimbardo.
It
was scheduled to last for 2 weeks. It only lasted, guess how long it lasted?
2 days.
6 days.
Oh. That's at least 2.
That is at least 2. I'm proud of you.
It's 3 days.
No. So Philip Zimbardo put out an ad in the paper. It was the 70s.
Just put out that paper. You want to go to jail?
It was 1971. There wasn't really much
else.
Imagine
getting your paper. You go outside. You see the little newspaper. You pick it up. You go, ooh, I want to read this with my coffee today.
Ad he put.
I can't read that.
I know you can't.
So you show back up to your house. You sit down on your little armchair. You've got your coffee next to you. You open the paper and you see this ad that says, you want to go to prison? And you go, oh, yes, I do. Let me put my coffee down. Let me call this man right now. And then you show up and then you go to prison. Supposedly for 2 weeks, but 6 days.
Would you like me to read you the ad?
No. Yes.
Okay. So the ad asked for male college students needed for psychological study of prison life. $15 per day for 1 to 2 weeks beginning August 14th. For further information and applications, come to room 248, Jordan Hall, Stanford University. So $15 a day, that doesn't sound great, but that's more like
at that
$90.
time, that was really good. But
yeah, so today that would have been $90.
at the
a
same
day.
time, you see a thing and it's like, prison? And you're like, money?
But also consider male
Money.
college students in the
that's
70s.
true. And also, college is expensive, man.
yes.
Like, these poor children don't even have ramen yet.
Apparently there were quite a few poor children interested in prison life because 70 people applied. And all 70 Philip Zimbardo put through testing. Not like I'm gonna strap you to a chair and study your brainwaves or anything.
It's like when you walk in, they've got like the big evil laboratory chair and they're like, hey, don't worry about it. Put your coat over there. Shoes off. You sit down. I'll be with you in just a second. You sit down. You look to your side. There's a line of people going that way. You look to your other side. A line of people going that way. They're all like, "What's up, bro? You here for the money? $15 an hour
A day.
a day."
Mm-hmm.
God,
$15 an hour. That'd be so good.
I wish.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Minimum wage. $15 an hour. Let's go.
So they took these 70 applicants. They did a couple personality tests, and they chose the people who they thought were the most average. So no one who was, well, you don't want anyone who's got like really violent, and you don't want anyone who's really nice, because you want to find out what a normal human person would do.
How do you know how?
Well, on a scale to 1 to 10, if they're
On a scale of 1 to 10, would you help the person who tripped? And if you say 10, like I'd help them, you're out. If you say 1, I wouldn't help them, you're out. If you say 5, maybe, I don't know, you get in. I think this is a bad scale.
it was the 70s.
It's Stanford.
But I think there was a little more to it than will you help the old lady cross the street.
I wouldn't. I would. I may. Depends on the old lady.
And
if it was my grandma,
prison.
that's a big old maybe.
You see?
I would.
You're going to prison.
I'd go to. This little lady like, yes, can you help me cross the street? And I'm like, oh, sorry, ma'am, I got somewhere to go. And a cop pulls up. He's like, whoa, bro, hands up, excuse me.
You gotta help old ladies, and you also have to not help old ladies. If you're in the middle,
just walk next to the old lady. Don't say anything. Don't talk to her. Don't touch her. Don't look at her. Just walk next to her and just like stand there and wait until she catches up with you, and then just keep walking. Just pretend like she's not there, but at the same time, go. I don't think that made any sense whatsoever, but
just don't.
Just don't. The answer is no.
They ended up, out of these 70, not all of them, but out of the 70 people who applied and were evaluated, 24.
I was close enough.
At least 2.
At least 2. There's a 2 in there somewhere, which means I was correct.
Yes. 24 people, men. They were all men. They were all Caucasian.
Not people, they're men.
Yes. It's well, in fact, men are not people. But they all 24 men were chosen, and they were just randomly coin flip decide whether they were a guard or a prisoner. And so there was really no thought to it. There was no like, oh, this guy's like tough, he'd make a good guard. It was just split them up nice and even right down the middle.
Short little twink guys. You're a guard? He's like, I do what now? Huh?
Yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles, you know? Some days
I don't like crumbly cookies, bro. I like the gooey. Like, they need to be soft. Like, I need to be able to break it and just go, woo. And I'm like,
I guess how the cookie goops.
Goopy cookie, man.
You know?
It's how the noodle sticks.
Yeah.
If the pasta's done, you throw it at the wall, it should stick.
I'll throw you to a wall.
I won't stick.
Then you're not ready. Back in the oven.
I put enough duct tape on me, it'll stick. Yeah.
I'm willing to test that theory.
You want to pick me up and throw me?
Later. Okay.
After the stream?
Yes.
All right.
Once everyone, and by everyone I mean the one person, is gone.
Yes. There's one person?
I know.
Oh, dope. I think there is one person, is there?
I don't know.
Bro, if there is, can you hear me? Nice. Thanks, bro. Yikes.
Yikes. We're gonna do this and there's gonna be no audio.
It's gonna
And
be...
I'm just gonna kill myself.
Fine. Don't you dare. I will fight you.
I'll fight you.
Physically and mentally.
Interesting, because that's exactly what they did in this prison. Wow.
Wow!
Back on track. Here we go.
My job is to keep us off track.
And my job is to keep us on track.
There's no track.
So there were 24 participants split evenly, so there were 12 prisoners, 12 guards. They ended up only actively using 9 of each, so there were 9 prisoners with 3 stand-in just in case something happened.
Oh, so they've got understudies?
Yeah,
just sitting in the back and they're just drinking tea when are we gonna get called out, bro? We're just waiting.
So the same thing with the guards. There were only 9 guards, and then there were 3 just hanging at home.
Yeah.
And the guards worked in 8-hour shifts of 3 each, so it would be the night guards, the day guards, the evening. So all in all,
the afternoon guards.
Yeah, know. So that's how the scheduling was. And on August 14th, 1971, the 9 prisoners who were actively participating were just arrested by the actual police department. Yeah, they did. So it was really frightening for the people because they were just at home or they were in their dorms, they were just on campus, and all of a sudden these police officers pulled up. And here we've got a little picture.
That sounds a lot like what's happening.
And they had the sirens going, and they were like, "Oh, you have your Miranda rights, but we're gonna take you in." And they took them to the actual police department, where they.
You got a hair in your picture.
Don't bully me.
My job.
And so they took them to the real police department. They did the whole booking. They did the pictures. They got their fingerprints. They did all the things they would normally do for criminals. And they even made up crimes for them. So they're like, "Oh, you robbed a bank, so you're going to prison," or "Oh, you assaulted a guy, so you're going to prison." And so obviously none of these guys had committed a crime. They just said, "Hey, I would like to participate in this.
I'll take $15 a day."
Yeah. And then all of a sudden
they got arrested.
They were in jail.
Yikes.
And so they were there. I'm not sure how long. I think a couple hours, maybe longer. And then they were taken
in the police station?
Yes, in the actual police station.
They're just there for 3 hours at the prison and they were
As you do.
It was done. Yeah.
And that's the end of the study.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, guy. There's one person. Or lady. Lass or lady. So they were kept in this real police department for a while before they were transferred to the fake prison, which was called the Stanford County Correctional Office. Boxes, and they're like, "Yeah, it's your prison." It was insanely well put together. At Stanford. It was at Stanford University, and they had taken a basement level, lower level that had normally labs and classroom type things going off this corridor. So they just had. Dang, the psych kids really kicked out the rest of the science children. They really did. Yeah. So they had this corridor with 3 rooms coming off, and then down the corner there was a bathroom, and there was also a little closet, and they used the closet as a solitary confinement area. Which, just imagine with me. Imagine real quick. You are spontaneously arrested. You kind of knew it was coming, but you're arrested. I would have forgotten. Let's start right there. I wouldn't have remembered. You have no idea why you have been arrested. I've been arrested. It feels like D&D now. You are told you robbed a bank, and you will be put through the justice system for it.
Then you are taken to this prison. And then you are taken to another prison. Now let's just assume a little later down the line, you do something icky. And that icky thing can just be as little as saying, hey, I don't like the way you're talking to me, Mr. Correctional Officer, or whatever the guard's name is.
Uh-huh.
They say, hey, you can't talk to me that way. So they take you and they put you in this tiny closet without any lights, without any windows, with nothing. It is a 2 by 2 foot closet.
That is a small closet.
You can barely
Oh,
stand.
yeah.
You're stuck there
Yes.
for like 3 hours.
Uh-huh.
And that's how they treated people.
Icky.
It's not good.
It's not.
It's not good.
Prisons right now aren't good.
No,
Yeah?
they're not. Not good.
Not good.
Not good. Fix it.
Can I eat the prison system?
I can't stop it.
Crunchy.
Alright.
Just the entire prison system. Just gone.
Yeah.
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 That's how it should.
Yeah.
As it should.
As it should.
As it should. Okay, what?
So when the prisoners were first brought to where the actual experiment would take place,
Yeah,
they were stripped naked and listen, they were hosed off, saying like, "Oh, you're gonna bring germs into our prison. We can't let you bring germs in."
I
So
don't think a hose.
it was just like a part of like dehumanizing and humiliation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they were given no underwear, just a smock, like a dress type thing.
I know what a smock is.
I
A
don't.
schmack.
Yes, they were given a schmack
Schmack.
that had a 3 or 4 digit number on the front and the back, and they were only to be referred to by that number.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also part of dehumanizing them.
Yeah.
Because they would only be able to talk to each other.
I don't
Other
understand how people do experiments like this and then are like, yeah, it's chill to keep over there. It's fine. Just like, bud.
Yeah.
You want to go to prison? No, you don't. You know why? Because it sucks.
It's not great. It was not great.
By the way, very, very off topic. You think that one up in the corner is just you subscribe to the channel?
I don't know.
Because that might just be it.
Let's see. Has anyone?
No, they haven't.
Hey, Maddie said she will watch our vid. But
Yay!
she's in the middle of teaching a show.
Well, sucks for her.
It
You better
does
hurry
suck.
up.
So,
God, bully Maddie.
the first couple little things that happened at the beginning, like the smock.
Yeah.
That's obviously not very realistic.
No.
And they did a couple other things
Well,
that
I
weren't.
mean, I wouldn't know if it's realistic. I don't want
I'll tell you.
Have you been to prison?
Not yet. But they were
One day.
given the smock.
Mm-hmm.
Then also, like the Phillips and Bardo,
Yeah.
the guy who put this whole thing on, he can't like actually shave people's heads. So they were given a little stocking cap that was like made from women's pantyhose, just to make it seem like they had shaved heads and just to kind of like make a uniformity.
So they gave them like bald caps?
Yeah, they gave them bald caps. And then they also, this is something that is very unrealistic, but also just the reason they did this whole like not quite so realistic process was because these people are only going to be here for like 2 weeks. So you can't get like a year or a decade's worth of living in prison. You can't condense that experience. So they were just throwing in a couple extra bits to try and,
make it work.
Spice it up.
Oh,
Spice it up.
no.
So they had the smocks, they had the stocking caps, and they also bolted a chain around everyone's ankles. So here is a picture of a foot.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that's also a thing that happened that doesn't happen in prison.
Listen, I think they should have just done this with the Navy men who were like, yeah, guys, I've got a question.
Mhm.
What if we went to prison? And they'd be like, well, I don't know, let's go get Stanford. Maybe they'll put it on for us. No, just make them do it. Once again, you ask the question, you get the answers. First hand, boys.
Answer you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was your answer.
No.
But what if it was yes? No. Don't shush me.
So we talked about the prisoners coming into this.
Uh-huh.
The guards coming into this.
Yeah.
They were all given like a real guard's uniform.
Mm-hmm.
They were even given those like baton stick things.
That's a baton. You got it right the first time.
Big thing from the actual police department.
Yeah.
So they had like real things that guards would have in prisons, and they also wore those mirrored sunglasses.
Aviator shades.
Just
top glasses.
They wore aviator shades.
Aviator shades.
As a way to just kind of assert authority. Yes.
If you wear aviator shades, assert dominance.
Well, it was just a way that the prisoners wouldn't be able to see their eyes, so it made them less of a human being and more of an authority figure.
Which 2 eye patches on.
Okay. That's why you're not in charge of psychology.
Thank you. I should be.
No.
Yes. Let's give everyone cookie.
Okay.
It's a cookie for everyone.
The guards were given permission basically to create and enforce any rules in any way except for like actual physical violence.
Yeah.
And they did that. So on the first night at 2:30 a.m., I believe it was, the prisoners...
So not the witching hour.
Not the witching hour. Very close.
Close.
But not the witching hour.
Away.
30 minutes from the witching hour.
I think that's how we should tell time. Just how many hours it is from the witching hour.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it.
It's like 6:37.
That's like 8 hours. 8.5 hours.
8.5 hours before the witching hour. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna go to class and someone's gonna be like, "What time is it?" I'm like, 8.5 hours from the witching hour. And they're gonna be like, "What the hell does that mean?" And I'm
well, that's like
witches.
In the marching band, we all created a system of measurement for time.
Goblins?
Not goblins.
Damn.
It was Shreks.
Goblin is measurement.
It is. But it was Shreks because every Shrek movie is about an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, oh, we've got 2/3 of a Shrek left. And that's just how we did it. The entire marching band was just like, yes, Shreks.
When a new person shows up, and you're like, all right, guys, and you just like sit them all down. You're like, you have to know our time system. And I'm like, guys, I'm just like the normal time system. No,
you fools.
Shreks.
I mean, it worked. You know,
yeah,
most people knew what was going on. Most.
Not all.
So at 2:30 a.m.,
yes,
the prisoners were all sleeping, and like I said, there were the 3 rooms and 9 prisoners, so there were 3 prisoners sleeping in each room, and the guards, there were only 3 guards because they were in shifts of 3.
Yes,
who were on at that time. They all had whistles, also from the police department, and they just blew their whistles, woke up all the prisoners, and did like a routine count.
Yeah.
You know. And it was just a way to, like, be an authority figure and also to familiarize the prisoners with their numbers. So they would just call out, like, oh, 8612, are you here? And they'd be like, yes,
no,
I am here.
I am not here.
And also, since it was the first day, a lot of the prisoners were still like, no, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? And the guards made them do push-ups, which Zimbardo and the other staff of psychologists who were, like, watching through the walls, really sketch.
It's just like, I mean, you say watching through the walls. I imagine like there's like a little crack in the wall, and you can just see someone's eye, and they're just like staring through the wall.
I mean, there were little, I think, cameras, I believe, like just kind of in the walls, and there were also.
What if they just put them in a box?
Put who or what in the box?
Me.
Okay.
No, but it's like the not two-way mirror, the one-way mirror or whatever. Yeah. So it's just a room made of one-way mirrors, and it's just box, prison inside, everyone else outside.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So they can see all the way around.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's your master plan? Well, they're not gonna. Well, you'd have to build a whole building. They were just using a building
just
at
go
Stanford.
Get some mirrors and just whoop, mirror time.
Okay. So, the prisoners who did not want to participate in this silly thing, as they believed it to be,
well, they get paid.
They had to do push-ups, which the staff was like, oh, that's such a silly thing to do. Like, that's such a high school gym coach. Like, oh, you gotta do push-ups. And they later learned that in Nazi concentration camps, that's what a lot of the Nazi officers would use.
I'm looking at you, Jim. Gym coaches, I'm gonna eat you. You hear me? Don't make me do push-ups. I hate push-ups.
Alright.
They're icky.
And that's also a big thing about this experiment. Looking back,
Yeah.
it explains a lot of like that concentration camp behavior. Just because people are icky and
They are icky, and I don't
Okay.
understand why we keep doing things like that.
Mhm.
People are real stupid.
They really are.
Like, I know we're the USS stupid,
We are.
and we are stupid,
We are stupid.
but I'd like to think we're a little less stupid than some.
Just a little.
I think we've got some vague bits, just
Just enough.
some bit, yeah, enough bits
Just
that
enough.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
So the next morning, those prisoners who had been woken up decided it was time to revolt. They were not 24
one
hours
day
in.
in.
Not even. It was
Not
less
even
than 24
one day
hours.
in, and we're revolting. I mean, I would have revolted like almost immediately. I would be real honest. Like, you wake me up at 2:30. I wake me up at 2:30.
They barricaded themselves in their rooms with their cots. So they put all the cots up against the door. Which I don't even think. Did I tell you this, that they like took the doors off the rooms and they replaced it with like custom fit metal bars?
Yeah.
Let me see if I have a
You
picture.
didn't say that.
I do somewhere.
That's interesting.
There. Huh. Yeah. Oh, good hand. Look at that hand. Look at him go.
There we go.
So they barricaded themselves in.
Mhm.
They took off their stocking caps and they ripped the numbers off their smocks. And the night guards. Yeah, revolution.
What time was this?
This was the next morning, so
The night guards were like leaving soon.
the night guards were about to
Sure.
leave.
Yeah.
And by the time the day guards came and they saw this, they were really disappointed. They're like, guys, come on.
Why? We left you for
Do your
a
job.
couple hours. Come on, guys.
And they ended up calling in the guards who were on standby.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the night guards who elected to stay, the day guards who just got there, and then they called in the stand-in. So there were 9 guards, 9 prisoners, and the way they handled the situation was pretty interesting. They got fire extinguishers, and like I said,
You're not
since-
supposed to breathe that in.
You're
No, you're not.
Did they do it anyways?
Yeah,
Yes, they
there's a
did.
thing literally in fire extinguishers that's just straight up called irritant.
It was the 70s.
Yeah, it's probably got worse stuff in it. It's probably got lead in there somewhere. Everything had lead in it in the 70s. That's a fact.
Yeah,
It's not a fact. It is, though.
just pretend it's a fact.
It's a fact. It's
So-
a fact for me. Me fact.
They, the guards,
Uh-huh.
got the fire extinguishers and they to get the prisoners away from the doors.
Yeah.
And I've heard sort of different things about what happened. Like, one of the things that I read said, like, they would go in, they'd grab a prisoner, and they'd put him in solitary, which there was only 1 closet, so I don't see how they could have done that with 9 prisoners.
Only 3. We've dropped to 3.
But the end result was the guards got in, they made them put their caps back on, and they took off their clothes just as a way to be like, hey, you have lost this privilege. And they also took away their beds, I believe.
Yeah.
So that was just a way of saying, like, hey, if you're not going to respect our rules, you're not going to get these things. There were 3 prisoners who were less involved in this. And the way the guards, like, dealt with those guys was they gave them a privilege cell because they figured we can't have 9 guards on at all times because that's just not realistic. So instead of using brute force, let's use like a more
Thinky.
a thinky tactic.
Knowledge.
So they gave these 3 prisoners a privilege cell, which was a way to just divide the prisoners who had before been all together in, hey, let's revolt, we're gonna do this. So now they were dividing them by giving these 3, they gave them back their clothes, they gave them back their beds, they let them go brush their teeth and wash their face and all this stuff. And they also let those prisoners eat better food in front of the other 6 guys. So that was also just a way of, like, hey, you're different from us, therefore we don't like you. And
the sexual ladder begins.
Yeah.
Yes.
so the guards also ended up, just to create more confusion and ickiness between the group, is they would randomly switch out who was in the privileged cells. So that made the other prisoners think, oh, well, maybe they told the guards something, so we can't trust them either.
That reminds me of a horror movie. And it's basically, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like you wake up and you're in a cell, right?
Yeah.
And it's you and one other person. And this like level thing, like it's like
Is it Saw?
No, it's not Saw actually, because there's thousands of people in the cells. But this like level thing comes down and it's got food on it or whatever, and basically the closer you are to the top, the better food you get, and the farther down you are, the like less or crappy food you get. But like it's just showing how people are real dummy, scrummy, stupid. And if you ever find that, no one's watching, but if you ever find that, good movie.
Good movie.
A good movie.
Yeah.
A good movie.
Good
movie. So,
is this just? Are you just gonna repeat me?
yeah, that's right. You heard me.
So,
I'm looking at my notes. Stop looking at your notes. Shush me.
So because of this whole rebellion thing,
Yeah.
The guards got to thinking, hey, these prisoners are trying to get us.
Yeah.
Trying to hurt us.
Yeah.
Which didn't help that the staff had given these guards the same like orientation that you would give actual prison guards, which was, this is a dangerous job because you're working with dangerous people, even though they were all just college students. None of them actually robbed a bank.
Male college students who wanted $15 a day.
Yeah.
Which they have gotten $15 at this point.
They have. So that also fed into the guards being harsher with punishments. They were just meaner in general. And so going forward, they just in general were ruder. And this ended up being
How rude.
too rude.
Extra rude?
Extra rude. This ended up being too much for one prisoner whose name is Doug Corpy, and his number is 8612. And 36 hours in, so we're not even into $30 territory.
No.
Only $15. Yikes. He was experiencing like fits of rage and sobbing and screaming, and he was just going through a lot, which reasonably, that's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
And so another interesting thing is Zimbardo, who put on the experiment, and some of the other staff members had begun at this point to think like actual prison wardens and superintendents, and they genuinely thought, this guy's just trying to trick us into letting him out, so they kept him there. And
oh boy.
They just were so into it that they were like, he's just trying to get out. He's not actually having issues or anything.
He's having issues, guys.
They did end up letting him out. So
okay, that's
good on that.
Thank God.
And there was a rumor going around that Doug, when he got out, he was going to come back and break the other guys out. Which
good on you, Doug. Yeah, do it. Power to Doug. Yeah. I like Doug. Ew.
It was voluntary, so they could leave at any point. So there was no need for a breakout.
There's always a need for a breakout.
And also going back to how Zimbardo was so invested in this is a prison.
Yeah.
He genuinely thought that there would be a breakout. And he was so concerned.
There should have been a breakout. That would have been funny.
That instead of just being a researcher and sitting back and watching this happen and just studying the psychology of what was happening,
he's like, hee prison time.
He did do prison time. He blindfolded all the prisoners, and he took them to some other part of the university, and he just sat.
Are these all Stanford students, by the way?
I don't know.
Or they just go to a bunch of random colleges and they're like, hey, y'all want to get like $15 a day?
I'm sure they're in the area. I don't know if they're Stanford
It's probably
specifically.
like other students around.
Yeah, they are college students, but I don't know exactly where they're
Are
from.
they?
I hope so.
God.
So he ended up sitting in the prison, and his plan was to, when Doug came in with all his pals, to say, oh, the experiment's over, we sent them home. And
then bring them all back.
And then the next day bring them all back and shuffle them in. And he even considered, at one point, waiting for Doug to come back and then recapturing him and putting him back in. And there's a fairly good chance that if Doug actually had come back,
I think
he would have been snatched.
I think at this point,
And this is only like 3 days in.
it's not even 3 days in. I think at this point, it's time to stop, bud. Like, bud, uh-oh. Dad, nuh-uh. Just stinky. Oh, no, is this stuck? Or
No, I taped it.
I didn't know it was right there. And I was like, why is there a little square right here? Why is it that?
It's
Listen, man.
taped.
I'm
for
stupid.
purpose.
This is why I'm part of this boat. I'm dumb. We should get a little sailboat.
Oh, we
I
should
have one upstairs.
We'll
Give me
get
the
it next
sailboat.
time.
Oh,
We'll do it.
I'll get the mouse too.
So another fun thing happened. I don't
Doug
know
came back.
exactly. Doug never came back. Doug abandoned his fears.
I like Doug.
Okay.
Listen, Doug's really
Yeah,
out
you know,
here.
let Doug be Doug.
Yeah, let him be Doug. He's got the most sense to him.
Mm-hmm.
He knew not to come back. Good man. Don't clack at me. Yeah, don't.
So they ended up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is the 4th or 5th or whatever day.
Yeah.
It might even be the 3rd day. But on
Say
a
number
day.
4.
Okay. On the 4th day.
On the 4th day.
As randomly decided by
Yours
Maxine,
truly.
there was a visiting hours were held where parents and friends could come just see their kids
Like,
and their pals.
What's up, you nerds? What you doing in prison?
Yeah. And so they were really like manipulative about how they made the prison appear.
Yeah.
So they let all the prisoners wash themselves, they let them all like shave and pretty themselves up, and they had the prisoners like scrub their cells.
Yeah.
And they had a Stanford cheerleader, Susie Phillips, come and greet
Susie.
the visitors at the registration desk. So they had all this fun stuff going. They were playing music on the intercom. They fed the prisoners a big dinner so that when the parents came, they would see, oh, look at this. They're feeding them food. They're playing music. They've got a nice lady at the reception desk. When they were actually forced to go to the bathroom in buckets that were rarely emptied and just treated like rats, you know?
Yeah,
So
that's how prison works.
that's how prison works.
That's how prison works and how prison shouldn't exist.
And
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Eat prisons.
also, the parents who had only like just walked into this situation were also getting very into the role of
Oh, my kid's in
son
jail.
is in jail. Which, can you just think about, like, just being there for half an hour?
Even your parent doesn't come up and be like, good job, honey, you're earning $15 a day. I'm so proud of you. You come in and you're like, what'd you get arrested for, son?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you robbed a bank. And you're like, Mom,
Yeah.
I'm doing a project. What if
So,
this was like a group project or something? Your parent wants it, I'm doing
this
it.
would
She's
be a
just
group
like-
project.
She's just like, honey, you're going to jail. And you're like, Mom, no, I'm not. Mom, I'm just trying to
Mother,
do a
I
project.
don't.
Mother, please.
Mother. So, after this whole visiting situation, this is a part that I don't understand, but
I don't
it
understand.
happened.
Yeah.
Zimbardo brought in a Catholic priest. Because
Wait, this is after the visiting. So like the
yes,
parents
it's
have
after
left.
visiting. Parents have left.
Cheerleader's gone.
Cheerleader's gone.
Music's turned off.
Music's off. Strange
Catholic
man.
priest. Catholic priest.
Catholic police.
That's basically what they are.
You know?
Yeah, you can't argue that.
Wee woo, Jesus
Wee woo.
police.
They
So,
come at you instead of batons, they've got crosses.
you know the baton has a little handle thing? They just held it the other direction. It's a cross.
Oh, sexy. Oh, no, it's Sarah.
Interesting. I guess I'll just put my everything on hold for you, Maxine.
Bro, it is for you too.
No?
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah.
This is all for
By the
you.
way, Cammy says when.
I-
Now, Cammy.
Told you 6:15, coward.
Did you tell her 6:15?
I don't know,
I'm gonna
probably.
tell her now. No.
So this priest,
You did not tell her 6:15. You just said we're
I
doing
told
a thing.
Dakota
It's me.
6:15.
Yeah, you did tell Dakota 6:15.
So
So.
this Catholic priest,
Yeah. Huh.
I believe he also did this type thing with actual prisons where he would go in and talk to the prisoners, just like bring some faith in the Lord into the prisons.
Mhm.
And this priest went through and he interviewed the prisoners individually, so he would ask them questions. And half of the prisoners introduced themselves as their numbers instead of their names.
Mhm.
So that's just another thing. Like if you're identified as this for so long, you just become that.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, but it's also kind of like
Yeah, it's like the nicknames thing. Like if I
Yeah.
come up to you and I'm like, your nickname's Goose, and I just keep calling you Goose. Yeah. So at some point you're gonna associate it with, like when you call Freely stupid. By the way, Freely's a dog. I know no one's on here, but it's a dog, and he is stupid. But I love him, questionably.
Yeah.
He's stupid. Well, yeah, he doesn't respond to stupid because he's like, everybody's calling me my cool aunt.
You know, if you call him stupid, he becomes stupid.
He is stupid, but I love him.
Catholic
Question.
priest. He popped the question, "Son, what are you gonna do when you get out of here?"
Cry.
And a lot of the prisoners were like, "Oh, get out of here! I'm in prison. I'm
Out of here.
out of
here.
Out of here!"
Out of here.
And they were just like, "I need a lawyer to get out. Like, I can't just leave. It's a prison." And so the priest was also kind of like, "Oh yeah, this is a prison." So he was like, "Yeah, I can call your parents. I can get you a lawyer." So
Someone get an actual lawyer.
um,
What if you're the lawyer for this? Like, you show up and you're like, alright, I'm here to get you out of prison. What would you do? And they're like, oh, bro, I don't know. And you're like, wait. You know, I see the head scientist, and he's just like, bro, sorry, man. This is an
Sorry,
actual
guy.
prison. And you're like,
I didn't mean to.
Do I still get paid?
So there was a prisoner who didn't want to see the priest, and that was prisoner 819.
I wouldn't want to see the priest.
I don't think it was that. It might have been that he wasn't Catholic,
I wouldn't want to see him.
but he ended up going to a doctor instead because he'd been feeling sick and he didn't want to eat, and he was just like, ugh. And so they sent him to, or I don't know if they sent, I think they just called a doctor
They
in.
probably just
And
went
they
over
just-
to one of the Stanford doctors and like, come look at this guy.
Yeah, so they took the chain off his foot, they took the cap off his head and all that because, you know, it's kind of awkward to go to the doctor like, hey, I don't mind the chain on my foot.
I don't mind the bald cap either.
It's just who I am.
Just who I am now.
So while this was happening, I guess the other prisoners were done with the priest. The guards
We're done with it.
were done
Like,
with the priest.
alright, we're done.
Get out.
Out.
So the guards lined the other prisoners up and they made them chant, "Prisoner 819 is a bad prisoner because of prisoner 819. My cell is a mess, Mr. Correctional Officer." And they had to shout that in unison like a dozen times. Just because I guess the guards had used 819, like, oh, he took off his chain, he took off his cap, therefore he did a bad thing, so we can punish the rest of them. He's seeing his doctor. Well, what else are you gonna do?
Hey, you gotta see the doctor.
Yeah.
Just give him nasty medicine. Instead of giving him a pill, you just give him like the juice.
The juice?
Yeah, the medicine.
That's ominous. Come here, kid, I'm gonna give you the juice.
I used to not be able to take pills, right? So my dad
Mhm.
And my mom sometimes, they were just like puncture them and just pour them into a cup with some water. Woo, Dunkin', you know? Tasted horrible. One time though, I remember, actually 2 things. One time I had
One time. 2 things.
2 things.
One time.
No, actually 2 times, but
Oh.
2 things, 2 times. Perfect. I found a lot of 2s today.
Yeah.
But my dad crushed up one of the pills and then put it in water, and then to be a good dad, he put some sugar in it. But he didn't stir it. So it was just I was drinking it, and he was sitting there like, you taste the sugar? You taste the sugar? And I was like, no.
He tried.
No. He tried so hard, but I got a little after hit of sugar, so it was fine, I guess. And then the other time was not as much fun. It was like, from the fun scale that was, it was the exact opposite. Because that one was funny, because Dad kept asking me if I tasted the sugar, when I did not taste any sugar. And also that pill just didn't taste that bad. And then one time I was late for school, and I had to take a pill because I have seasonal migraines, and they're real bad if I like don't do anything about them. Like my dummy self, I can't see, I can't read, and I'm just like, what's happening?
You can't read either way.
And I'll throw it. I can't read either way. You're right. But I was late for school, and for some reason, and because I still couldn't take it, I didn't have enough time to like just stick it in the water and like either pop it or just let it dissolve. That's what you do, man. You just shove it. No, literally, you put it in the water, you take a knife, you go, whoo, and then it comes out, and then you drink it.
Yeah.
But I didn't have enough time, so Mom just gave me a piece of bread, and I would figure it out. And I ended up biting into it, which was horrible.
Oh my god.
And it tasted disgusting.
It
sucked.
I never really had a problem with taking pills, but my cousin, she would have applesauce, which you can't have because you're stupid.
I can't have applesauce.
But they would just put the pill in a little spoonful of applesauce, and you go, oh, good, yum, yum, yum.
I mean, if you stuck it in one of those little oranges that are in, like, you know, those little cups with, like, the water in them? I used to pop those babies whole. Like, you just, like, stick it in your mouth, you go, whoop, and you swallow the orange.
Can you imagine?
And I came home one day and I was like, Mom, I swallowed an orange. And she was just like, a whole orange? And I was like, oh, yeah, you know it.
Could you dissolve a pill in water and then make a little jello with it?
Yeah, probably. Wouldn't taste good, but you could. Well, okay, the thing is, though, you'd have to thicken it.
That's true.
And
who knows what
you just get,
do.
like, watery pill. I mean, you could put gelatin in there.
Yeah, that's how you make jello.
Yes, it is. I'm just kidding.
It gets all goopy.
Bro, I haven't made jello in so long.
Don't you, like, melt the gelatin?
I made
and
pudding.
Then you, like...
Pudding? No, so it's like you get the water hot or whatever. You get whatever you're filling is hot. And you take the gelatin. It's like a sheet. And you just set it in there. And you're like... And it gets all loose.
I miss Jello. I remember, like, as a kid, I loved Jello, but my parents would never get me
see,
Jello.
I had a weird thing with Jello.
Yeah.
Where I would take a little spoonful of Jello. Number one, when you get a spoonful, you gotta sit there and wiggle it for like 2 seconds because it's just gonna whoa, whoa,
It's like the tongs, you have to clap them every time. You gotta jiggle the Jello.
I saw a post on Instagram that was talking about stuff like that, and I'll show it to you later, but it was really funny. But yeah, you gotta clack the tongs, you gotta shake the Jello, you gotta see it wobble. And I would put it in my mouth, and I always got red Jello. Only the red, because I always associated the green with the ones that had, like, the weird pineapple chunks in it. Yeah. And I don't know why, but I never wanted the green.
Well, always the best.
Always the red. You take a scoop, you wiggle it a little bit, you stick it in your mouth, and you go to eat it. But I didn't, like, eat it all the way. I would chew it up. Yeah, number one, I would chew it, which is, it's Jello. Just swallow it, cowards. Yeah. And then I would sit there, and I would let it melt in my mouth, and then I would drink the juice.
I know. I can't stop you. I don't encourage this, but I can't stop
I would also put a crap ton of whipped cream on it, which was amazing.
I've never had whipped cream and Jello. I see that all the time.
I thought you were going to say you never had whipped cream, and I was about to go run upstairs and get you whipped cream, because I have whipped cream, and you're not allowed to exist like that. Unless you're lactose intolerant, then you can exist like that. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're like Victoria, well, you're like, we're
There's-
stinky.
I don't know what it is. Like lactose intolerant people are some of the
They're
ballsiest
actually,
people.
they're actually the like correct people. We're just mutants.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're supposed to not drink milk after you baby.
I mean, at this point, though, at what point does a mutation just become the normal? Because, like, yeah, originally.
Well, I never said they were normal. I said they were correct.
I know, but now isn't
doesn't
there a
mean
new
normal.
correct?
No. What is that?
Because once something becomes just. I think it's the new correct. It's the new normal.
Oh, cowards. You can't drink milk.
God, can you imagine not ever having cheese?
I like cheese. Cheese is good. What's your favorite type of cheese? Oh, I like brie.
Like. It's good.
It's gooey in the middle.
Brie is good.
Ashley
Mm-hmm.
will eat brie, but she'll only take out the middle, and she will. And I'm like, that's horrible. I'm like, just fucking cut it. Because she sits there and she gets like a little spoon, she just scoops out the middle. And I'm like, Ashley, just cut it. And she's like, but it's wax. And I'm like, it doesn't taste like anything. It's so thin. It's not like you take a hunk of Gouda, which has like the thick red wax on it. It's not like you take a hunk of that and you take the wax and you go, ha. It's just a little bit of the rind. Just leave it alone. Just take a round of brie and just bite into it, you absolute coward.
You're very passionate.
Thank you.
So, prisoner 819 who went to see the doctor,
And everyone was chanting.
everyone was mad at him.
Hey, pretext.
Hey. Pretext. So, Zimbardo, who is the one who... Yeah.
No, wait, is this on?
Is it?
How long have these been on?
I have no idea.
I think these need new patterns.
All of time. So, Zimbardo, who is the one who had taken 819,
Mm-hmm.
like, to the doctor, and or, I guess, brought the doctor to 819. Oh, well, that's it. That's not good. That's fine. And Zimbardo ran back to see 819 was just, like, sobbing, as you do when people are yelling at you that you're the worst.
Yeah, I would.
And Zimbardo was like, hey, you can leave if you want. Like, you don't have to stay here. Because this guy was obviously in distress. And 819 was like, no, I can't leave because they all think I'm a bad prisoner. And I don't want to prove that I actually am a bad prisoner. And Zimbardo had to say, and here I have a quote for you.
Oh, should I read it? Do you want me to read it?
Would you like to read it?
I'll read it. Where is it? Wait.
It's this.
Sorry. Let me show it. Damn it.
It's
Where?
just this little bit here, the bit in blue.
At that point, I said, listen, you're not number 819. You are his name. And my name is Dr. Zimbardo, Zimbabwe. I am a psychologist, not a prison superintendent. And this is not a real prison, but this is just an experiment. And those are students, not prisoners, just like you. Let's go. He stopped crying suddenly, looked up at me like a small child awakened from a nightmare, and replied, okay, let's go.
That was a very dramatic, inspiring reading. So,
I tried my best.
we're 2 prisoners down. We lost Doug. We lost 819.
Let's call him Alex.
We lost Alex. We lost
Alex.
Doug. And you remember we were talking about those 3 guys back there just waiting for someone to call.
Oh, did they get Colin back in?
Yes. So they ended up calling.
The Patrick keeps popping out.
Stop messing with it.
No!
So they called in one of the guys. They were like, hey, we need you to come stand in for
Hey, stupid.
a prisoner. I think that was a loud ass bird. Might have been the dog.
No, it was not the dog. It was like, and I was like,
That sounds like the dog.
he doesn't make bird sounds.
I make birds.
I know you make bird sounds.
So they brought this guy in. I think it was the 4th day. I'm not really sure.
5.
Maybe.
It always surprises me how long days are. Like,
Mhm.
I know it sounds so weird, but like, every so often you just get through a day and you're like, oh damn, that went fast. And then every so often when you're like doing something, like not really school because after you get in the rhythm of it starts going by pretty quickly, but like
you'll do something in the morning.
You'll do something like new or like in the morning and you're just like, it's going on for so long. Like I'll go to swim in the morning, which is like 5:45 to 7. Bro, that feels so long. Like I think it's like 6 to 7 is the longest portion. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, go. Can I leave? I got out of the pool and go.
Get
sure, we didn't show up till like 6:20 one time, and we were all just like, "Can we leave?" We were also trying to get the lifeguard to let us swim, even though he was like, "You have to have your coat with you," and we were like, "But we're on the swim team. We can swim, I swear." But like, coach showed up, and we were all just like, "Can we go home?" And he's like, "No, we're swimming," and we're like,
"I'm sorry."
Yeah, you should be.
So
called
in this guy.
He called in me.
And his number is 416. Would you like to name him something? So we got Doug, Alex.
Charlie.
So Charlie he just popped on in. And the old-time prisoners who had been there for the full 4 or 5 days, they were telling this guy, they were like, oh, it's a real prison. Now that you're here, they won't let you out. You can't get out. Like, you're stuck. And Charlie coped with this because I guess he believed them. Because,
I mean, if you just get thrown into a situation like that, what you gonna do? And everyone's like, it's a prison. And you're like,
I mean, even if, like, you volunteered for this, if other people are telling you, yeah, you're stuck here.
Yeah.
You're probably going to
Especially people who've been there longer than you. Like,
they know what's up.
Seniority. That's why when a senior tells you there's a pool on the roof, you give them the $20 and you believe it.
I'm going to do that next time.
No, someone literally paid $20 to get on the pool on the roof.
Did they really?
Yes, and I knew who they were, and I was like, why?
How does anyone...
I don't know. There's a tube. But no, I have no idea. I have no idea how that works.
There's not even like stairs to the roof.
I mean,
I've gotten on the
people
roof before.
say that there's like a weird like hallway that they only open during swim season. And there is if you go to the PAC where the snack room is, right? There's a ladder that goes up into the ceiling. I have no idea where it goes.
You want to check it out together?
Oh, wow.
No one can stop it.
I mean, you're not wrong. We got ice. It was during summer gym. We just stole ice, and then we went down and sat on like the little hill, and we just put the ice there and raced the ice during lunch.
That's fun.
It was the most fun thing we could think of doing at that moment. We got into it.
It's entertaining.
It was entertaining.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah. I wonder who the two is.
Maybe Cammy.
Oh, if it's Cammy, then she should probably say something in chat. Or she just can't hear us.
God, that'd be the most disappointing thing. I mean,
I'm
the first person who was there, they've been there like an hour, so.
Well, I mean, even if it is like, is it a person or if it's just someone who's subscribed, because they've got like.
I think it's a person. Because it was a 0.
It was a 0.
When we first started, it was.
Was it Dakota then?
Probably.
Because Dakota actually had the time.
Well, it's probably Dakota.
It was probably Dakota.
Thanks, Dakota.
Thanks, Dakota.
So Charlie came in. Everyone was like, "You're stuck here." And Charlie's way of coping with this was going on a hunger strike. And
thank you, Charlie. You've been here less than an hour, and you're going on a hunger strike.
Yeah, and
power to him, I guess.
The guards were like, "Hey, Charlie, eat your food. Eat your food. Charlie, you stupid little man,
eat your food."
And eventually, they were like, "You know what? He's not listening. We're gonna put him in solitary confinement." So they left him in there for 3 hours.
So like 3 days.
No.
They just left him in there.
3 hours.
And he didn't
eat. And the rules were that solitary confinement couldn't be for more than an hour.
Yeah.
They left him in there for 3 of those. So.
Oh, someone left.
Unacceptable.
Come back.
So, and like, at this point, you would think the other prisoners would be like, wow, look at this Charlie guy.
Yeah.
He's really doing it. Look at Charlie go.
Yeah, look at Charlie.
But they were actually so just pissed at him because they're like, Charlie, God, he's such a troublemaker. He's making it worse for the rest of us. It's Charlie's fault that, like, all these things are happening. And the guards came to these other prisoners and they said, all right, prisoners, we will give you a choice. You can either leave Charlie in solitary confinement for the rest of the night, which would be another solid, 8 hours, or you could give up your blankets. So
the person's back.
the prisoners either had to get rid of their blankets
Mm-hmm.
and let Charlie out, or keep their blankets and just screw Charlie. His fault.
Did they screw Charlie?
They did screw Charlie.
Aw, come on, guys. It's Charlie.
The staff did intervene later
Good.
and get Charlie
Later,
out.
they should have intervened already. They already broke the rule.
I have no idea how long he was actually in there before Zimbardo was like, hey, get him out. But
This man, no.
at least it wasn't all night. So
Did they have to give up their blankets?
they did not,
Okay.
because I don't know why, just because. And on the 5th night, some of those parents came by and they said, hey, we got a lawyer. Because remember that?
Oh my God. They got a lawyer.
Mhm.
Why? It's lawyer time, boys. I like that the parents, once again, are like, yeah, my kid's in jail.
So
What if you
Zimbardo,
just didn't tell your parents about this and they showed up and they're like, are you actually in jail? And you're like, yeah.
Zimbardo
Yeah.
called in a lawyer,
Yeah.
and he had the lawyer interview
The other lawyer?
the prisoners.
Mm.
So yes, it's just 2 lawyers in a room
Okay.
discussing.
Because I thought the family called in one lawyer. And then Zimbabwe called in another.
No, the family called in saying, "Hey,
Oh,
we're
we
going
want
to get a
lawyer."
lawyer." And Zimbardo was like, "Yeah, I'll get a lawyer." I'm Zimbabwe called and said, "I'm going to get a lawyer."
Listen, that's what I've been thinking. Every time you've said his name, you're just like, yeah, Zimbardo.
Yes.
And I'm just like, yeah, Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
By the way, Cammy said that we need to give her more warning, and I'm like,
I
Cammy,
told her
we
it's
texted her
6 o'clock.
before it started.
That's her fault. I'm blaming this entirely on her. So
Grace says she can't join tonight.
unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
At least we have Dakota.
Yeah, hopefully it's Dakota. Dakota, that's you. And or if it is someone else. Number 1, I love you. Number 2, did you put something in the chat? I can't tell. Okay.
You having fun?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they brought in the lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and they also had an ex-prisoner who, throughout this whole thing, this ex-prisoner had helped
That-
them.
Dennis, Davis,
Do you want to call him?
Doug.
No, it's not Doug.
What's his name?
Doug and Alex were the ones who were released.
Yeah, no, Doug. He's an ex-prisoner.
Yeah, but like an actual ex-prisoner who had spent like 20 years in a real prison.
Oh,
system.
I thought they meant like an act. Like they just grabbed one of the guys.
They're like, hey, Doug, come here.
Yeah, come here, Doug. Come interview this guy.
So they brought in this like real ex-prisoner who throughout the whole time he'd been there helping them, like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is what happens in a real prison, this
Oh.
is how you should do it, which made it realistic, but yikes. And
Big
they
yikes.
had this guy act as like someone who would give parole, I guess. I don't really know
How
what
does
the
that work?
terminology was.
Yes.
But they
Gives
brought in
parole.
the prisoners who believed they should get parole. They brought in the
Parole's
lawyer.
like getting out early, right?
Parole is like getting out on a warning, so it's like, yeah, you
They're
can
like that
go
was
back
dumb,
to
but have
society, but we're gonna have a guy come check on you every week.
Yeah.
Or whatever the different like.
fun. Just be sitting in your house and like some guy shows up and be like, "Hey, you doing good? You being a good person?" You're like, "Yeah," and he's like, "All right, see you next week. Adios."
Yeah. You know? So they had this guy act as a parole officer. They had the lawyer who they did tell the lawyer, so he's not acting like as an actual lawyer. They were like, hey.
They just didn't tell him. They were just like, yep, have fun. And he's just like, all right, let's get these prisoners out of here, boys.
Yeah, that's a strategy. But luckily, they did tell the lawyer.
The lawyer sues them back.
He would.
He
honestly.
would if I would.
Yeah, you would.
You go to law school. I'll go do that.
Glad you're not a lawyer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So they had the prisoners like, and they went through the whole thing of like, will you get parole?
Yeah.
And eventually, like this is kind of the point where things are getting very out of hand here.
Yeah.
Like it was meant to just be watch how these two groups interact with each other.
Yeah, exactly. But
And now it has
it's
become an
a prison
actual
system.
like legal steps are being taken
Jesus
here.
Christ.
And this lady, Christina Maslach. Christina, who was a recent Stanford PhD.
Yeah.
She came in to like interview the prisoners and just see what was going on, and she was just horrified at this whole scenario because she hadn't been there the whole time. So the staff, then Zimbardo, and everyone that were used to it, they're like, yes, this is what is happening. But Christina came in and she was like, these are boys.
She was
and
like,
look what
y'all.
you're doing to them. They are human beings. They are children. Just stop it.
College students.
They're still children.
They're stupid. Don't touch me.
Fine.
Is that your phone?
Probably.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So that was kind of the point when Zimbardo like really realized, hey, we really need to put an end to this because the guards were psychologically abusing people. They were physically abusing them. There was a guard who would like stand on prisoners while they did push-ups, and he would make other prisoners like sit on their backs while they did push-ups. They were like not letting them go to the bathroom. They were leaving this bucket unemptied for days. And this lady came in, she just saw how horrible it was. And I think anyone could come in and just say,
I mean, even just hearing about that, you're like the first thing, when the first thing came through and you were like, the U.S. Navy was like, let's do an experiment and have a prison. Stop right there. That's enough. Just no.
Well, they did not stop there,
No,
as
they did
evidenced
not.
by
This.
And they ended up ending the study on August 20th, 8 days before it was meant to stop.
Good.
And that is good. That is good.
Yay! It's over. Well, hopefully no one had lasting mental problems,
They
which
did.
I doubt.
There were lasting mental problems.
Of course there was lasting mental problems because it's the prison.
Okay, also in this article that I read, which I believe it was Zimbardo as an older fellow looking back and saying, this is what happened, this is what I realize now. There is a quote that I do not understand because it is never explained
Do you
further.
want me to read it? Do you like me to read the quote?
Yeah, just read the highlighted one right there.
The highlighted one. Their boredom had driven them.
Them being the guards boredom.
Their boredom had driven them to ever more pornographic and degrading abuse of their prisoners.
Degrading.
Which I swear to God.
That's something that's never explained. And I don't know if I want to know what happened.
I think it means like
I'm so afraid for these people.
it's just bad.
It's
The answer is icky.
And
Big
so
stonk. Big
there
steak.
were like after all this went down, they got everyone together in a group circle, you know, like kumbaya, to talk it out, get all their feelings out in the open.
That's not how this works.
And so there was a lot going on there. And in the end, like when they were asked, a lot of the prisoners thought that guards were like specifically chosen because they were bigger, when everyone was just randomly decided, which shows how like power and authority will like change your physical perception of someone or something, which is
I don't know, that candle right there's probably got physical authority over those candles.
Yeah,
good call.
I would fear it if I was a candle.
I'd fight. I'd fight anything.
You. That's why I don't trust you.
I would threaten to fight anything.
Yeah.
Would I actually? That's a maybe. Especially if it was a hippo. I will never go near a hippopotamus.
What if it's like at the zoo and there's like a wall?
Never. They're horrifying. They're horrifying creatures. They shouldn't exist. Hippos are worse than spiders.
They're more.
I would rather spiders exist than hippos.
Well, lucky you. You have both.
I don't want both.
Well, I don't think you have to worry about hippos.
You always have to worry about it.
Here, Google, how many people are killed by hippos per year?
That's a lot. You can snap your spine in half.
Snap your spine in half.
You can't, not over your knee.
So, there's more if you would like
Yeah, go
to
ahead.
hear it.
I'm just looking up how many people are killed.
So, there was also talking about how the prisoners thought the guards were chosen because they were bigger. A lot of the guards felt like they were performing for the researchers, which is a thing called demand characteristics, where they felt like they were expected to get certain results, so they felt like less responsible for what they did, because in their minds they could all just rationalize it as, oh, well, I'm just doing what's expected of me, even though that's not a good thing to do. They can blame it on another.
The hippopotamus is first on a lot of the like deadliest creatures lists.
Yes, but how deadly?
Killed by hippos per year.
Mm-hmm. Are you thinking double digits or single digits? Or triple?
It's probably talking about me. That's just
I'm guessing 67.
That's a mistake. That's a snake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Not a hippo.
It's blue.
There
There it is. There's the hippo.
Mm-hmm.
Killing it as it's only 500 people per year in Africa.
That's a lot of people, though.
They're aggressive and they have sharp teeth and their faces are horrible. They've got the they have 4 big teeth. They go whoo whoo.
You look, you have a lot of repressed emotion.
Shouldn't exist.
Who hurt you?
Hippos.
You're from Texas.
Yeah. You have a problem?
Okay.
Hippos are horrible creatures. They should not exist.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go on TED Talk and just talk about why hippos should be vetoed.
Well, the moment you chat with God, I'm sure you can share your concerns.
I will.
So,
I'm gonna send a complaint to God in the mail.
you know Vsauce?
Michael here.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. He
Did we talk about hippos?
recreated the Stanford prison experiment.
Vsauce.
But better,
Can you
because
give him cookies?
no,
Oh.
but he believed that the 3 main pieces, which I pretty much agree with this, of why this turned out so icky,
Yeah.
was because people were given anonymity, which like you don't know
You
who they
do,
are.
yeah.
They were dehumanized.
Yeah.
The prisoners were given numbers. They were just treated like a cog. And they were given power. So he wanted to try giving anonymity, dehumanization, and power
There's dose. There's one.
to a group of strangers,
Yeah.
but without putting that demand characteristics on them. So like the guard, they were like expected to act cruel because they were expected to get these results.
Yeah.
So if he took away that expectation, would people still be cruel? And he did the same thing Zimbabwe did.
Cool.
He evaluated the people.
Yeah.
So, but instead of choosing just average, he chose people who scored highest in moral categories. So he wanted to test if it was all people or if like moral people would act nicer.
Yeah.
So
He'd be like, good.
don't touch me.
Don't touch me. God, you touched me. Ew.
So
I'm being bullied.
the way Vsauce Michael here put this experiment together
Yeah.
was he put these 4 people
Mhm.
in a room in the dark. So being in the dark. They couldn't see each other. That gave them that anonymity. They were all given numbers, so they were to be called participant 1, 2, 3, or 4. So there's
Can
that.
I be number 5?
Yes. So there's that dehumanization. And they were given, so they were all sat at a square table
In the dark.
in the dark,
One candle in the middle.
no lights. And they were each on a side of this table. And the table underneath
How many people were there? 5?
4, and you in the corner.
I want to sit in the middle of the table
Okay.
on the top. And
So
just lay down on the top of the table.
the purpose, what he told them the purpose of this experiment is to just see them solving puzzles in the dark. So they had like a jigsaw puzzle or something, and they had to like together, the 4 of them, put it together in the dark. But
No lights.
there was a second team. Surprise.
Surprise!
There was no second team. It was just them. And underneath the table, that square table, there was this dial and a button. And so the dial went from 1 to 12, which was a volume, and the button would make a loud sound blast in the other team's room to distract them.
Yeah.
And they were told that anything under a 7 would be safe to hear, and anything above a 7 could damage hearing. And it was basically
Put it
just
up till 12.
to see. It was just to see.
And it was like a thing where it was like, oh, whoever finishes first wins kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
Turn it to
would
1.
they?
Beep, beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, beep, beep.
Mm-hmm.
Beep.
And occasionally the research team would play sounds back, but they never played anything above a 3.
Yeah.
But it was just to like simulate there being another team.
round, yeah.
They would go beep beep every so often.
Mhm.
And they did this twice with 2 groups. And the first group, the researchers pushed the button 23 times over the course of 2 hours, and the participants only pushed it 6 times
I'm
over
proud
those
of
2
them.
hours.
I'm so proud.
And
Give them cookie.
after those first 2 hours,
Yeah.
the participants were told, all right, your job has changed. You're no longer expected to finish this puzzle. Your only job is to distract the other team.
Yeah.
And that was to put that like expectation on them, the way that the guards were expected to act away.
I'm gonna watch this video.
It's very interesting.
I'm gonna watch the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one person who's watching our video, you should watch that video too.
It
After this.
turned out that even when their only point, the only goal was to push this button, they only pushed it 3 times.
I'm proud. I'm very proud of these people. Because
And
3 times it was like a 12.
They never went above a
Oh,
7.
yeah.
No one ever went above a 7.
I'm very proud of them.
And the second group pushed the button a lot more, but it was mostly in retaliation. So the researchers would go beep, and then they would beep back, and
They're just they start conversating in Morse code by the end. They're just like, how is your day?
so that was essentially what Vsauce Michael here
Vsauce
found
Michael
out
here.
was that the people who are inherently good will stay inherently good, even when given that position of power and that ability to be cruel and that expectation to be cruel. So that's kind of a nice little wholesome ending to this whole thing.
That is wholesome. Thank you, Vsauce Michael here. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Vsauce Michael here.
He is a gift.
He is.
He is.
And it's also a lot of other modern psychologists have criticized this experiment as being flawed because
Vsauce Michael's here?
no, Zimbabwe's
Good Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe was criticized because of that demand characteristic. So a lot of people were saying, well, this isn't realistic because they were expected to do something, even though
It's
in that context of an actual prison, that is realistic. But just about humans in general, that's not a realistic.
I mean, I'd be part of the group that beat back your retaliation because if
You
we
gonna go on a
get
hunger strike? You and Charlie?
I want to eat cookies. Cookie. Yeah, I'm gonna go get one of the cookies from upstairs and I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna eat the big cookie.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am. Unlike the hippos, they don't get cookies.
You're still on the side.
Yeah, I'm always on it.
Right.
Listen, man, if you ever want to start a debate with me, just talk to me about hippos. I can go on.
Mm-hmm.
They're horrible. Disgusting creatures. They have these little stubby legs, but they can fucking run. They're so fast. And they people think they look cute on the outside. No, they're disgusting.
Hippos do seem to be a staple creature of a lot of nurseries because they've got those round faces and then little ears, and in a lot of children's nurseries. That's so weird. Who decided that hippos were the nursery animal?
They shouldn't be. They're disgusting, horrible creatures.
You are very opinionated.
Listen, man, end them.
Shall we end this up? Let's just.
My point for this video is that fuck hippos.
Okay.
I hate them, and everyone should.
This has been the USS
It's
Stupid, and we're
sank. Thank you. Now we have to reach it. Turn it off.
I'll turn you.
Yes, end it.
I'm trying.